So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Brexit trade blow is happening sooner than feared. Bank of England warned. So the Bank of England, this is a really clumsy couple of articles I tried to mash together with a load of weird statements from one of the top dons in the Bank of England, which I did my best to make sense. I think I did figure out what he was talking about. It's mainly about productivity, TLDR. But yes, the UK's lack of productivity. So the economic damage done by Brexit is happening sooner than feared, the Bank of England warned. And I was pretty confused by the headline and, some of the comments he made, but it makes more sense later on. So the Bank of England said the economy is being hindered by a sharper slump in trade with the European Union than implied by official statistics and very subdued business investment. So with staff shortages, rising costs, huge uncertainties around trade and increasing corporation tax, why would we get more business investment or foreign direct investment in the UK? It's not rocket science, especially when EU countries or the US can give you a better deal. At a news conference to explain today's interest rate rise, Ben Broadbent, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, said it was clear, still not clear. Said it was still not clear whether the effect of EU withdrawal were reason why the UK is forecast to do worse than other major economies this year. And you would think he'd sound like an idiot making this statement, and you would think based on this statement that this man's a clown. But Brexit was factored into the UK's performance, or at least it was meant to have been. So they forecasted the impact of Brexit on the economy. And then even with their forecast, they realised things are still going wrong here. He said the Bank of England had not changed its overall assessment about Brexit having a negative impact on growth. But he said it had not expected to see the impact come through so quickly. He explained, quote, Brexit has been, there's an ellipsis there, Brexit has been something that has pulled on our potential output in our country. That has been an assessment for many years. We've not changed our assessment of the long-running impacts, but we've brought some of them forward, and we think they're probably coming in faster than we first expected, end quote. And, I wonder what he means by the impact is coming faster. Does it mean their forecasts were off and they don't want to admit that? They clearly thought the impact of Brexit would be lower, year to year maybe. I don't know. He says, quote, yes, it... quotation marks, Brexit is having some effect on growth, although ultimately no bigger than we assessed a few years ago. Based on the numbers for trade, to some degree for the numbers on investment, we think these effects are coming through faster than initially envisioned, end quote. And I wonder how off these forecasts are, because we know that non-tariff barriers are prohibitive to trade. They're expensive and can cause issues. I think maybe they did not anticipate the decline in productivity in the UK and the impact of the staff shortages. That's the only way I can see this making sense. They're talking about the impact of free movement and the workers being about 300,000 workers gone because of no freedom of movement from the EU. And that's having a massive impact on the UK's productivity by the looks of it. Or did they not realise that EU members would move some of their supply chains out of the UK so quickly? They don't give a reason, which is annoying. But the point being is that they didn't anticipate a few things happening here, and that's what's caused the issues. Analysis by Bank of England staff found that goods trade has been weaker than official figures have suggested once it's adjusted to account for data issues such as delayed customs declarations. Since the UK's new trading relationship with the EU began in January 2021, official data shows a 7% fall in trade, but the Bank of England's adjusted figure points to a 14% slump, so that's double. So, I think the data is way off here. He says, quote, we have not changed our estimate of the long-running effects. We have brought some of them forward, said Ben Broadbent, Deputy Governor at the Bank of England. Quote, we think probably they are coming in faster than we expected. We mentioned this before, end quote, sorry. I guess you could say the impacts that were predicted in, say, 2024 or 2025 are coming to impact us now. That seems to be what's happening. But once again, they can go a long way to explain the situation better. Brexit has quite pulled down potential output in our country, Broadbent added. The Bank of England sees little prospect of a turnaround in the subdued levels of business investment since Brexit, predicting declines of almost 6% both this year and next year. And businesses will restrict investment in the UK. Why would you invest here? We've talked about this a lot. Even if you make a successful product in the UK, or should I say Great Britain, exporting that product is very difficult. We spoke recently about the bike company that makes, essentially like wall-mounted bike racks. They're having incredible problems moving their, UK manufactured goods into the EU. they would have known that the UK that UK exports to the EU would be lower due to EU alternative options and also, the customs, the checks essentially. I'm not sure why the Bank of England goofed on the productivity issues the UK face. Our imports are stuffed up because of import checks. Or sorry, should I say, our imports are stuffed up because of import checks. Our exports are stuffed up because of EU's export checks or EU import checks, however you want to phrase it. No freedom of movement means huge staffing issues in key areas. We have logistics issues getting products out of the UK into the EU. All of this would impact our productivity a lot. What was the exact formula or algorithm they used here? Because most experts would have seen this coming. Perhaps those experts are not working for the Bank of England, but clearly they've goofed, and the forecasts that they have potentially for the impacts of, say, 2026 are coming into effect much, much more quickly. And that puts the UK in a much weaker footing because the Bank of England's forecasts, I think, are always a bit, kind of optimistic because they always hope the government will intervene and do something. At least that's what other commentators have said. But, for the Bank of England to get this so wrong is terrifying because they're the ones that are meant to, deal with things like inflation and deal with other kind of impacts. And the Bank of England's word is quite respected, but clearly since the departure of Mark Carney, things are going wrong. It wouldn't be just him; it'd be a lot of others. But the fact remains is the Bank of England didn't see these supply chains as being as bad as they are. The productivity is clearly a key issue here, and with the NHS being so badly impacted by the Tories, it's very hard to force people back into work when they have so many niggling injuries, and you have so many people who have retired early because they have money. Some of these people have money. What do you do to resolve the issues here? You can have more immigration, sure, but the Brexiteers are against that. And given the fact that EU country migration within kind of countries that have freedom of movement is going to be far harder to get those people because they're going to need visas to come here. So you're looking at the rest of the world in that case, and that can be quite difficult. But yeah, the Bank of England seem to have goofed pretty badly here, and I'm waiting to see more kind of analysis and more information come out about how badly they've goofed here, and I'll cover that when it comes out. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.